All right, if you've ever worked with data in JavaScript, you've probably had that moment where you're staring at an array and thinking, how do I change every single thing in here? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most powerful tools for that exact job, the map method.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a classic example. Imagine you have this array on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And your goal, your mission, is to turn it into the array on the right, 2, 4, 6, 8. Every single number has been doubled. So how do you pull that off? What's the best way to transform an entire array item by item? And listen, this isn't just some abstract coding puzzle, right? This kind of thing, transforming data, is something developers do all day long. I mean, think about it. You get a list of products from a server, a bunch of user comments, a list of search results. Your job is to take that raw data and reshape it into something your application can actually use. That's the real challenge we're talking about here. So how do we solve this transformation problem without writing a clunky, old-school for loop? Well, let me introduce you to the star of today's show, the map method. It's clean, it's modern, and honestly, it's a beautiful tool designed for exactly this purpose. So what is it really? Simply put, map is a method you can call on any array. You give it a little set of instructions, which is just a function, and it goes through and applies those instructions to every single element in your array. Then, and this is the important part, it gathers up all the results and gives you back a brand new array. Now, to really get map, you've got to know its 4 golden rules. First, and this is the most important one, it always creates a new array. It never, ever touches your original data. That idea is called immutability, and trust me, it's a game changer for preventing weird bugs. Second, it runs your function once for every element. And third, the new array you get back will always have the exact same length as the one you started with. No more, no less. Let's see it in action. Here's our numbers array again. We call .map on it, and we pass in a function. So map takes that first item, the number 1, runs our function, and our function says, hey, return 1 times 2. So it gets a 2. Then it does the same for the next item, 2. And gets back a 4. It does this all the way down the line, collecting those return values, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and boom, it hands us our brand new doubled array. Problem solved. Okay, so we've seen what mapping does, but to really master it, let's pop the hood and see how it works. Think of mapping as a little assembly line, a transformation machine for your data. What's actually happening inside? So here's how that assembly line works. The very first thing map does is create a new empty box to put the results in. Then it picks up the first item from your original array and runs it through your instruction function. Whatever value that function returns, it gets dropped into the new box. Then it goes back, grabs the second item, runs the function, drops the result in the box. And it does this over and over until it's out of items. Finally, it just hands you the new box, all filled up with your transformed data. That's the theory, which is great. But now let's talk about where the rubber meets the road. How do you see professional developers using map in their actual day-to-day code? Well, the first thing you're going to see everywhere is this super sleek syntax called an arrow function. I mean, look how clean that is. Instead of doubling, here we're squaring each number with just num, arrow, num times num. It's incredibly concise and so much easier to read. Honestly, this is how you'll see map written 99% of the time in modern code. So why does this matter to you? Because you are going to use this for everything. You'll get raw data from an API and use map to pull out just the pieces you need. You'll have an array of prices that are actually strings, and you'll use map to turn them all into numbers so you can do math. And hey, if you work with a framework like React, map is the absolute go-to for turning an array of data into a list of components on the screen. It's one of the most practical tools you can learn. Now, here's what separates a good developer from a great one. It's not just knowing how to use a tool, it's knowing when to use it. And as amazing as map is, it's not always the right tool for the job. So let's make this simple. It all comes down to your goal. If you want to transform every single item and get a new array of the same length back, map is your champion, no question. But if you just want to loop over some items, maybe just to log them to the console, and you don't need a new array, for each is your friend. It's more efficient for that. And if you need to select just a few items from an array based on some condition, that's a job for filter. Okay, before we wrap up, I have to show you this single most common mistake that trips people up with map. Knowing this one thing is going to save you so many headaches down the road, I promise. Look really closely at this code. We're using an arrow function, but see those curly braces? We're doing the math, num times 2, but we completely forgot one tiny critical word, return. See, with a one-line arrow function, the return is automatic. It's implicit. But the second you add those curly braces, you have to explicitly write return. And this is what you get: an array of undefined, undefined, undefined. This is what makes it a silent bug. Your code doesn't blow up or throw an error, it just gives you this bizarre wrong result. And the reason is simple. In JavaScript, if a function doesn't explicitly return a value, it automatically returns undefined. So map is actually doing its job perfectly. It's just collecting the undefined that your function is handing it. Always check for that return.
So to bring it all home, map is so much more than just a handy little function. It really represents a bigger shift in how we write code, a move towards a more functional style. It encourages you to write code that's predictable, clean, and a whole lot easier to debug.
Seriously, getting comfortable with map is a huge step forward in your journey as a developer. It just unlocks this really powerful way of thinking about and working with data. So the only question left is, now that you've got the tool, what are you going to transform first?